we go again. Anything is possible. And the crowd absolutely love it. This is why we love Formula One.
Since April the 20th, Oscar Piastri has led the F1 World Championship this season. Now, for the first time in 13 years, in the final 5 rounds of the season, that lead has changed hands. It has been snatched by his teammate Lando Norris in a brilliant victory in one of the most chaotic and frantic Mexico City Grand Prix we have seen. Welcome to your post-race show.
Nothing is straightforward, nothing can be taken for granted. We leave the line and we're underway for the Mexico City Grand Prix. Say goodbye to Lando Norris in the opening 200 metres. Lewis Hamilton pinched to the inside. Hamilton tried to attack. Watch Max Verstappen. Who's on the outside? Who's locking up? Who's going deep and off the road? On the racetrack, Lando Norris keeps the lead. Oh, that's side by side, the two old rivals. Verstappen trying to get by and no room. Hamilton. What was a really rough fight for a couple of corners has landed Lewis Hamilton a 10-second penalty.
I've got much more pace than Kimi here, and we can fight for a podium. I'm happy to give the position back if I don't achieve it, but my tyres are just going to suck here.
Antonelli is now told to swap positions. Can they do some synchronised swimming down to turn 4? They can. George Russell up to P4. Piastri's going for it. Trying to slow the McLaren down. Russell will throw it to the inside, and that's a major move for Oscar Piastri to claim P5. What a weekend this has been for Lando Norris, who comes across the line and wins the Mexico City Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc hangs on to second position. Max Verstappen will complete the podium, and Oliver Behrman will get his personal best result in Formula One of P4.
Beautiful weekend. Well done, everyone. Incredible result.
I think those highlights could have been about 5 minutes longer, 20 minutes longer. Let's just replay the whole race for you, because my goodness me, that was brilliant. Ruth, James, your reaction to what we've just seen. Firstly, what a win, and how important a win for Lando Norris.
Oh, just huge. I mean, under the most pressure, you know, whenever you go in kind of with being the guy to beat, it just does throw an extra amount of pressure on you. We know how difficult the run to turn 1 here is. He kept composure, he executed perfectly, and then a victory by 30 seconds. I mean, it was an absolute beating on the field. Absolutely incredible, and takes over the championship lead. Huge weekend.
He takes over that lead by just the 1 point. It's 35 over Max Verstappen. It could have been a bit less, though, but for that virtual safety car at the end that just stopped Max's charge onto Charles Leclerc. So much going on.
Yeah, normally we're talking about the first 830 metres of this Grand Prix into turn 1. I think with this race, we were focused right up until the very last lap with that virtual safety car timing. You know, we all live in a world of predictions as engineers. We're very boring, but we predicted that it was going to be it. And also, Oscar on Ollie as well was very close without that virtual safety car. I couldn't take my eyes off it.
How important a win is this for Lando Norris, not just in terms of the championship with that 1 point buffer, James, but in terms of his momentum, his confidence, the inward-facing perspective he now seems to have, as he was saying to you in Parc Fermé?
Yeah, I mean, it's so big because the momentum is huge, but when you look at the last time that Oscar really had an off weekend, I take that back to Baku, right? And Norris couldn't really capitalize on that. He finished 7th in that race or whatever it was. It was great to see him under that pressure, knowing that Piastri was that far back, execute the way that he did. And to put that kind of a beating on the field, that not only boosts him, that knocks down everybody else as well. And they called the strategy perfectly. He managed the tires beautifully. The car was exactly where it needed to be. He did exactly what he needed to do. I mean, momentum is real in sports. I do think that Piastri's going to bounce back. We're going to see his form pick back up, but it's not that Lando's is going to dip. He's just going to get back up there, and I think we're going to see them wheel to wheel in the future still.
We're going to continue to talk about McLaren, Ferrari, Max Verstappen, the permutations, but we'd love to welcome in our first live guest, Gabriel Bortoleto. Gabby, congratulations. Points today for Sauber. Talk us through it. What a race that was. It was chaotic for us to watch. How was it in the cockpit for you?
chaotic as well. No, it was great. It was great. I think a solid start. We managed to overtake 3 cars, I think, in lap 1. And then it was all about managing the tires well and making some moves. And was a very nice 1 point, probably the nicest of my career.
You say making some moves. There was one on Isaac Hadjar that was a very nice overtake that I think everybody out there would have enjoyed. So
Yeah.
you getting those moves done?
Was very tense as well, you know, going in the outside so much. Oh, I didn't feel like that in the car, you know, that tight. But no, it was great. It was great.
Lap 1 was so chaotic for us to watch. What was it like for you in the car? You know, we saw 4 wide into turn 1 at the front. We saw contact at the back.
I got a good line, I would say, because I think a lot of people went in the outside, so all the chaos was happening in the left side, and I managed to stay in the right, if I remember well, and there was nothing really going on there. So I managed to overtake some cars and get away of the crashes. But still, like, there was, because I think everyone from the left tried to go to the right, and everyone broke. So when everyone broke, like, I just needed to smash the brakes, not break my front wing as well. So it was quite crazy.
Gabby, it's the first time that you've scored points without starting inside the top 10. You had a bit of a problem in qualifying, didn't get the lap that you wanted on that final run. Does it feel a little bit better? Is it even more rewarding when you had to work your way up for it?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm always very tough to myself, and I as soon as I finished the race, I told my engineer, imagine what could have been if we were inside the top 10, making to Q3 yesterday. But sometimes, you know, it's learnings that we need to do. I think we learned so much from yesterday quali and what happened there. And finally, we have been able to start outside of top 10 and put the car there again. It was special, good strategy, good team communication, and it was great.
Gabby, speaking about strategy, I spoke to your boss, Wheatley, this morning. I said, you're going to go for the overcut because it's the only thing that's ever worked when we were at Sauber. So was that always the plan, or did you convert to that after your amazing start?
I think we converted to that. You know, obviously we left a bit open, not knowing what was going to happen there. But when we realized we had a very good pace on the medium and we managed to extend a bit, we said now we need to get the tire advantage. And when we get out of the track, you know, get back on track with the softs, we need to try to overtake people as soon as possible. And I think it was perfect timings because I managed to overcut Yuki in that lap. And if I have done one more lap, I think he would have overtaken me. So that was great.
And Gabby, looking ahead then, we've got 4 races, if I'm counting right, 4 races remaining. Where does the Sauber look good? Where do you think you may struggle? What's the outlook?
I think we can be good in the last, on the rounds, you know. I think Austin, it's a very bumpy track, a bit similar to Brazil. So Nico did a very good job there, and I believe we can make some solid points there. And let's see how it goes. But it would be nice to deliver a good result in my country and also the next rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy that one. Enjoy Brazil. Thank you so much, Gabby. Yeah, that's it. Lovely stuff. Thank you, Gabby. Learning how the mechanics of the television production works here. Thanks to Gabby. 1 point for them. They have slipped below Haas, though, in the constructor standings. They've moved up to P8 after a brilliant double points paying result for them. Nico Hulkenberg on the other side of the garage, of course, retiring with a PU issue. Told to power cycle the car, not able to get out of the pit lane after that. Back to the front then, back to Lando Norris and to Oscar Piastri. For Piastri, was that damage limitation the best that he could possibly have got today?
I think the start, he'll look back on and reflect and maybe, you know, review to see. I actually couldn't watch it because I was watching other things at the time. Maybe there was something with that. He lost some positions at the start. However, I think he did a great job after that lap. I wasn't sure about when McLaren boxed him, or sorry, I have to start smiling because the wild Ollie Behrman has appeared.
I love that he just kind of walks his way, meanders into the...
I think that's my cue to enter.
That's
This
just
is
you. Get in
Ollie's
here.
thing. He always just suddenly stands behind me. Ollie will get you in right in the
Always
middle
jump
of it.
scare her.
You always do. Ruth,
Easy to do.
Well, yeah, very easy to do, but Ruth had warned me on that one. Ollie, my goodness me, congratulations. We are so delighted for you. You're a regular on the show. We love having you on. You're always so kind to give us so much of your energy, and we so appreciate that. So
I've got none
P4.
left now, so don't
Okay,
expect much.
give us a little smidge of it. P4, sum it up.
Yeah, 4th. That was really nice. That's I think Haas's joint best result. At one stage it was looking like P3, and you know, I was counting down the laps at that you know, in that second stint. But you know, P4 at the end, I'm so happy because we've been working really hard. We bought an upgrade on the car, and to validate the hard work of the team with a P4 and a P9, both cars in the points, it's a really special feeling.
And you missed FP1 as well.
Yeah, I might start doing that a bit more often.
You were on the post-qualifying show saying, no,
Saying
I
it
need
was-
to do all
I
of
know.
that one. So you got to make up your mind on that one,
I'm
pal.
not sure.
Can you take us into the car in lap 6, please?
What happened on lap 6?
Lap 6 was the moment that we saw Verstappen versus Hamilton. You can watch it. There you go. Talk us
Oh
through
my
it.
God.
But Ollie's,
Yeah, I could see it all unfolding
yeah.
in front of me, and I was like, okay, play it safe. And when I saw the lockups of both of them, then I was, oh.
So yeah, Lewis Hamilton was off the track.
And then I was on the
Penalty.
inside, and I was
Yep.
like, honestly, I can't say what I was feeling on air, but I was feeling a bit scared. And then I was side by side, and I was like, super scared.
Toe-to-toe with Max Verstappen.
But it worked out.
It worked out just fine. What does that feel like from inside the car? You say you're super scared, but were you confident you were going to be able to hold him off in that moment?
Yeah, I knew that once I got in front of him, oh, it was my dad.
Your dad lived and breathed every
Yeah, I
single
imagine.
second of
I
this
think
race.
he's more nervous than I am.
He's somewhere behind here, I think, as well. He was waiting, watching.
Yeah, so you know, when I was side by side, I had my nose ahead, so I was like not gonna give it up. And then actually, when I was leading that pack, obviously I was scared that they would just have more pace than me, but actually I was able to hold them off and even build up a bit of a gap and a bit of a buffer. So I'm really, really happy with that, and so proud of the team.
There's Esteban just saying a big well done as well. P9 for him, double points for the team. James.
Look, take us inside as you're getting caught by these guys. I mean, you're used to racing in the back of the points, but you're not used to racing against Ferraris and Mercedes and Red Bulls. Does it feel different from inside the car? Does it change your approach?
Yeah, I mean, the first stint was actually not easy, but more simple. I was managing and still able to hold a gap to the cars in front, to the cars behind. Stayed pretty much consistent gap to Lewis in front as well, so we were in a good place in terms of pace. Then the second stint, what happened in the second stint? I think I had Kimi
You had a great
behind.
pit stop. You had your best pit stop of the
Oh,
year
it was
from
amazing.
the crew.
The guys really, you know, they know when to show up, and today was the time to show up. But no, that second stint, I had the Mercs behind, but again, they weren't close enough to get in my DRS. So, you know, they didn't really have more pace than me. And then even in that first stint, I had George pushing like crazy behind me, but I think he dagged off a bit after. And then Piastri, I feel like the McLarens don't have any dirt yet. They were just following me like they're in clean air. So he was putting me under a lot of pressure, and of course I was lucky to hold on, but really happy with that.
Ollie, I do have to let you go, but I have to get your thoughts on the VSC, the timing of that with Oscar Piastri right behind you.
I would have held him off anyway.
That's what we like to hear.
That's our boy.
They're the words of a P4 finisher.
The VSC is always another thing. You have to get the restart right, and you have to, you know, you can get caught out by a VSC. So when it came out, I wasn't actually happy. I was sad because I had a lot of battery to use, and I was about to deploy it all because I was basically a lap and a half to go, and then VSC came out. So I was almost a bit sad, but happy to finish fourth.
We're delighted for you.
Thanks
Thank
so
you
much.
so much,
You're welcome.
Ollie. Thank you. Enjoy it all. Enjoy it. Soak it up. Go and see your dad as well. I'd imagine he really wants a hug. Just brilliant. And Esteban Ocon as well, playing a bit of the team game and holding up Oscar Piastri to obviously keep him away from Ollie Behrman.
Yes, from that guy, from that kid that was just on here. No, it was a great team day for Haas all around. I mean, you had Ocon starting 12th, but he said he had better pace than that in qualifying. He was only 3/100ths away from advancing to Q3 in the first place. And I think I said on the grid walk, both those drivers thought that their race pace was actually better than their single lap pace. Turned out to be the case. He said it, the boys and girls showed up in the pits when they needed to. Fastest stop for Haas all year long. I think it was when he came in at the same time as Piastri. And to outgun McLaren in pit lane, that was a team win for all intents and purposes.
Let's hear from the team boss then, Aya Komatsu.
Ayo Komatsu, P4 for Ollie Behrman, P9 for Esteban Ocon as well in there. Sum up your emotions right now.
I don't know, I'm just so overwhelmed and so just happy for everyone.
I mean, you must have been in there with the team in the garage congratulating them. How did you pull that one off?
Just a big team effort, you know, and we always been there this season, you know, fighting, and then never had a big result, but yeah, what a team effort. Original, fantastic. Tire guys gave us completely right information. Strategy guys done an amazing job. Race engineer, performance engineer, everyone giving right information to the driver, communicating. So it's just a huge team effort, and finally, we managed to get a big result. And then to get both drivers in the points, it's just amazing.
Yeah, you look a little bit emotional here right now, but P4, there was a point he was running P3 for that race. I bet you were tense, though, on the pit wall when he was fighting with Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen out there. Just talk us through how it felt watching that scrap.
And it is amazing, even like a second stint when we are ahead of those Mercedes guys. We, of course, at that point, we are trying to go for one stop, managing tires to make sure we got the tires at the end. And then that was still our baseline. The Max stopped when those guys started converting into two stops. For me, it was about risk management. You know, for what we are fighting for, we really needed to secure P4, and then that was the best chance to cover and then go for it. And then again, you know, after that pit stop, we are fighting against Russell and Piastri, Mercedes and McLaren. You know, what a privilege to fight those guys. And then, yeah, just whole team's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, brilliant result for the team, but also for Ollie himself. You've mentioned that here, when he did FP1, he really impressed you and told you how good he could be. Has he told you even more about his talent today?
Yeah, I mean, the guy's rate of growing, it's amazing. You know, we always saw huge talent, and every single time we just, you know, we are learning and we are improving. And then, you know, since Singapore, he's been putting weekend together. Austin, you know, there's a couple of things in the sprint and race, but other than that, he was mega. Right here, what can I say? He hasn't put a foot long, did he? It's just amazing.
And another word for the team, though, upgraded the car last time out in Austin. Clearly been a step forward. It's put you, I think, about 10 points behind Racing Bulls now in that fight for 6th place in the Constructors' Championship. Do you celebrate this one, or do you get head down ready for Brazil?
Oh, no, we have to celebrate these moments. You know, come on. And as you know, this is such a hard business, you know, and then everyone puts so much effort, and there's more disappointment than happiness. But, you know, these moments you got to celebrate for sure.
Well, go and enjoy it. Ao, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
That is a very, very, very happy Ao Komatsu, and rightly so. They should celebrate what they've achieved today. Up to P8 in the Constructors, then ahead of Sauber, and another move in the Constructors. We're looking at that battle for P2. There were 10 points between 3 teams leaving Austin. Ferrari are now 1 point ahead of Mercedes after a P2 and ultimately a P8 for Lewis Hamilton. Let's get into the Ferrari day, because it's mixed fortunes, Ruth, isn't it? We'll start with Charles Leclerc. He held off Max Verstappen, the VSC probably coming out just at the right time, but that was tense on the final 2 laps.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all there is to say. They delivered very well, maximising the free air, which is worth so much around here, because the cars are absolutely screaming on the limits of absolutely every temperature limit you've got going. So I think they did a very good job with the position that they had. And, you know, like I say, very thankful to the VSC gods that have actually stung Charles here before. So it's nice that he's, you know, got one back, I think.
And just on that VSC, I know Jolyon Palmer in commentary for us earlier was questioning why it was brought out, because it was brought out because of where Sainz was parked up, but equally they were waving double yellows, and perhaps it was felt that would have been sufficient. VSC was clearly called for whatever reason it was called.
Yeah, it was a very bizarre situation. I mean, I don't think we even managed to get Sainz's car on camera. We couldn't even see where it was, which means it's pretty far off the racing line. We've got the racing lines pretty covered with our great camera crew here on F1 TV. So I think it was a huge missed opportunity. You know, we could have seen a great battle for P2. We could have seen a great battle for P4. But look, you're not in race control. You don't have all the information they have. There's clearly a reason for it. There's a protocol they have to follow. There's checklist they go through, and if these things are met, then it's appropriate for a VSC. It's just so unfortunate, the timing.
Yeah, for Charles Leclerc, perhaps not so. It looked like Max Verstappen was going to catch him. When was the question? Ultimately, he didn't. It's P2, another podium for Charles Leclerc. We'll hear from him and his teammate, Lewis Hamilton.
Charles, all sorts going on in that race this afternoon. A pretty eventful start as well. Can we go into the cockpit for that one? And P2 at the end of it, of course.
I hated every meters of that first corner. I mean, obviously there was the start, which wasn't a great one. Strangely, that kind of helped me, because I don't think Lando would have came back to the right if I had a good start. So luckily, I could have a slipstream. But then, yeah, after that, I was just a passenger trying to defend my place. I think Lewis didn't especially knew that there was Max on the outside of me, and that created, I mean, everything was super tight. But yeah, luckily my race or Lewis's race actually didn't end up here, because I really thought it would.
2 podiums in a row now, of course. That must give you a little bit more confidence heading to Brazil in these final few races of the season.
Yeah. I think we are doing a really good job at extracting every single bit out of this car. In the last 2 weekends, I don't think we've got anything to be angry about. I think we really did everything we could. the potential of the car remains the same, and we know that in the development race we stopped earlier than the others to focus on next year, but I think we are doing a really, really good job with what we have.
Thanks, Charles. Well done. Hi, Lewis. That must be so frustrating after qualifying. Can we just get your take on the key moments of that race? 4 wide into turn 1, first of all, then that battle with Max and the penalty that followed.
Yeah, so it was fun at the start and didn't end up the way I'd hoped, but that's motor racing.
We heard you say over the radio just no grip at all when you were rejoining the track. I guess not much more you could have done in that situation.
No, I mean, it's very, very dirty offline, and did the best I could to keep the car or bring it back to the track safely, and that's all I could hope for.
It's so tough to overtake here, of course, after that. But what can you take from the weekend as a whole? Still some positives?
Yeah, I've got some points at least.
Thank you, Lewis.
Oh, Mike Seymour with the difficult job in there, asking nice questions to those who've done well, asking the difficult questions to those who are not happy, and Lewis Hamilton definitely in that second camp there. He almost looked emotional or overcome with emotion at one point there, but you can understand why. At one point he was P3 in that race. He could well have finished P3, and then it all just fell away. Could Ferrari have done something different with how they managed that situation for Lewis?
I mean, hindsight's 20/20. I think that what's so tough about that particular situation is up to that point, you've seen Max go across the grass twice, no penalties. Lewis goes across the grass and he's given a penalty. Now, there's more to all of those stories, right? And there's a reason why there was a penalty assessed in one situation and not the other two. But from inside the cockpit, all you see is this: I did this, he did this, but I got a penalty and he didn't. And so I'm sure it feels a little more unfair right now than it really is when you break it down. So yes, could they have done something different? They could have told him to back off a little bit at least, maybe even give the position back. But making those split-second decisions on pit wall, relaying it to the driver, it's a tough situation to be in.
Well, on that, and Ruth, I'll come to you on this in terms of how the pit wall is communicating with the driver. I'm not a racing driver. If it was me, I'd want the information about a 10-second penalty given to me as quickly as possible so that I can proactively manage the situation going ahead in terms of, right, I will back off on my tyres here, I will then push in as hard as I can at the end of this stint to open up as much of a gap as possible. They waited 5 minutes to tell Lewis about the 10-second penalty. Can you explain why, from a pit wall perspective, that may be?
It's a difficult one to answer because, so the times when you wouldn't communicate a penalty is if you know a penalty is coming, but it hasn't yet come up on the page 3 yet. And therefore, by communicating it to a driver, you're potentially alerting competitors to information that they don't have yet. So that's one scenario that could happen.
That wasn't the case, was it?
Isn't the case today. The other time is when you don't want your driver to change the way they're driving, potentially, and the reason why you're not giving them the information is, you think they might react. They could be in the middle of a battle. They could be, doing something particularly difficult that actually you're going to cause more harm than good. I don't want to put my head inside somebody else's. It's difficult to understand just from the outside with what information we have why they did it, but I'm sure, again, they have the information as to why. Potentially he was managing something, potentially he was going through a tricky phase with the tyres. We don't know. But what we do know is that, without that penalty, I think Lewis Hamilton would have been standing on the podium there, or at least have had a great crack at it, defending from probably a speedy Max Verstappen. So, it's gutting to see how gutted he is.
All racing drivers are different, I suppose, James, and want information in a different way. How would you have wanted that situation to unfold?
Yeah, I think, to your point, for me, knowledge is power, right? Yeah. The more information you have, the sooner you have it, the better you can kind of handle the situation. But to Ruth's point, there's always a lot of elements and a lot of things to consider that we don't know. So tough, but I was a driver that always liked knowing as much as possible because I thought that gave me the better chance to sort of manage the situation.
Lawson as well retired on that lap 6, which was a second flashpoint in the race, of course, after the race start, both of which involved Max Verstappen. How did he keep it out the wall? Off the start, I have no idea.
Jolien called it. The car control on the grass in a Formula One car at those speeds, so impressive. Because, and he mentioned it in the interviews there, bottomed out on the curb. You lose so much braking potential. You were not slowing the car down. So by the time he let off the brake, turned in and sort of went for it,
Let's
half
watch
talent,
it again. Why not?
half luck. I don't know. I mean, it was a bold move to go 4 wide, certainly, but
And
the
he's
gap
on the
was there.
medium as well.
Yeah,
Don't forget,
that's
everyone
right.
around on the soft.
The harder of the 2 compounds of everyone that started, bar Albon. So you see there, it basically becomes a 4-wide situation. He gets pushed on. You can see the floor scraping off there, and the car just sliding, 4-wheel sliding sideways, just barely makes it work. But again, I think Jolien, called that one very well from inside the booth. Once you kind of broke it all down, saw where he slotted back into place, it's probably about where he would have been had he made the corner. So he's so good at that, isn't he? The number of times we see him in these situations where he goes off or whatever, and he very rarely gets the penalties because it all just, he plays it the right way. He kind of knows what he has to do and where to put himself to avoid getting them.
But he does his research. You know, if you ever go into like a motorhome, he'll sit there with his race engineer, GP, who we did hear a few times, because I think there was some radio issues going on.
Too much, yeah.
Too much.
I loved that
It's like, it's talent meeting hard work. They go through the sporting regulations so that they can maximize it, know the rules so you can play it. And I think probably some inspiration from his dad, who with that rallying move, which I think is what they were saying in the cool down. But, I think it was a really well executed race by Red Bull. I think it seemed like that maybe they weren't expecting everyone around them to be on the soft tyre. It was both of the Red Bulls on the medium tyre, and they actually executed a stunning reverse strategy, catching at 1.5 seconds a lap and finding that free air when others were not able to, or that had to bail out into a 2-stop.
Well, that's it, isn't it? So many ahead of him that he would have potentially sort of been in the melee with and having to overtake, pitted out of his way. So he could have that free run all the way to the podium. What about his moves on lap 6 then in that battle with Lewis? How did you see that one?
I mean, again, sort of tough. He got to the apex first. There was contact, so maybe there would have been some argument that he forced another driver off the track. But then he was sort of driven off in turn 2, heading into turn 3, and had to defend down the inside, which he did. He gave Lewis the room on the outside. Lewis didn't have the grip, and we know sort of how that played out. But again, it's to within an inch of the rule, but he came out on the right side of it. So it's a great, like you say, great execution. The guy knows the rule book. And I've just got to take this opportunity to throw out MVP of the race for me, Pirelli. We finally had a proper 1-stop, 2-stop mix. We didn't know what the strategies were going to be. The teams didn't know what the strategies were going to be. We saw those pivots mid-race. The reverse strategy sort of worked. But, man, it was so exciting seeing some drivers deviate. Looks like Monza last year. I thought it was great.
I mean, personally, I'm still giving it to Ollie Behrman.
Yeah.
Came P4 in a Haas and held off, people that he said was the greatest driver of all time. But we can give it to Pirelli. And you're exactly right. The thing that made that strategy so interesting was the soft was very similar degradation to the medium. It was just a better all-round tyre, but it's about 4/10 faster than the medium. The in-turn was about 4/10 faster than the hard. And actually, those elements combined meant that, still looking at it right now, I think probably a medium soft or a soft medium would have worked out about the same, because you had to go through the pain. But actually adding that second stop was slower. For some cars it worked, for some cars it didn't. Anyone that ran the hard, I think, had a pretty difficult day. I think it was Albon was asked, how is the tyre? And he said it's awful everywhere on all axles.
He had some comments about the strategy that Williams deployed on his car, but we'll leave that for another day.
It was a horrible day for Williams, wasn't it? But so often we see this battle between Pirelli and the teams. I think it's probably about 19-1 to Pirelli now. Anyway, let's hear from the man who finished P3, currently sits P3 in the world standings, but closing up, it's Max Verstappen.
Max, that was quite an eventful race for you. All started at turn 1, of course, the moment across the grass. There was the battle with Lewis a little bit later as well, but you made it up to P3 at the end. How do you sum up that afternoon?
Quite eventful at the beginning. We had a good start, good run to turn 1, but then, there were too many cars, so you just have to try and avoid everything. And I had to go onto the curb and you bottom. So, that was tough. I avoided going into the wall through the grass, then found my position again. And then basically tried to just do the race. Yeah, the beginning was very hectic, but I think also very quickly we realized that the medium was not a great tire. It looked like everyone around me on the soft was quite a bit more comfortable. So we just tried to extend the medium as long as we could. And then I think when we went onto the soft and everyone else was on the medium, I think it showed that the soft was a better tire for today. We had a good final stint. I was enjoying that. I think the pace was a little bit more competitive compared to all the cars around me, except McLaren, I would say. So that was better. I personally didn't expect to be on the podium today.
How did you view the wheel-to-wheel moment with Lewis? And also considering where you were at the start of this weekend to come away with another podium, does that give you quite a lot of hope moving forward to Brazil and the remaining races?
Yeah, I mean, the rules allow you to do the things that we do in the racing nowadays. Now, people can agree with that or not, that's the rule. And yeah, I think the whole weekend is just been quite difficult. But I think all in all, to be on the podium has been positive.
Thanks, Max. Well done.
Third place in the World Championship as well, 35 points behind Lando Norris. On the other side of the garage, Yuki Tsunoda believing he could have been P8 or P9 today. Easy points were on the table and the team threw them away. So a bit of work to do on that side of the garage. And of course, Red Bull very much still in the fight for P2 in the championship. Speaking of, let's hear from the man who's already won the team championship and looks to win with one of his drivers, Andrea Stella.
Andrea, what a performance from Lando Norris today. Just how proud are you to see the team bounce back from what's been some tricky weekends and put in a strong result like that?
Yeah, dominant performance today by Lando, which confirms the performance we exhibited yesterday in qualifying, and then I would say Lando has been pretty much the fastest in every practice session. So a deserved victory for Lando and an important confirmation for McLaren that we can have the fastest car. We had some hesitation in the previous races. Probably we didn't maximize our potential in some of the previous races, so it was important confirmation today and very encouraging for the coming races. And I think some encouraging signs also from Oscar's side today.
I was going to say, getting himself back to 5th place, it's not easy to overtake around here. We saw some drivers struggling to get through traffic. How pleased were you to see him fighting back and nearly holding on to his championship lead there?
Well, I'm pleased with him fighting. I'm pleased with him adopting some of the adjustments that we want to adopt today based on what we learned today in terms of driving our car fast in these special conditions that you have in Mexico. Oscar did it today, and it's a bit of a shame that he was not in condition to do it more, because we were with Oscar pretty much all race in traffic. But we know that we have added tools to the toolbox with Oscar, which will make him definitely even stronger for an exciting final part of the championship.
It's going to be very exciting. You haven't quite knocked Max Verstappen out of there this weekend. He still actually is slightly closer in that fight than he was arriving here in terms of points to the lead.
Yeah.
How do you see that over the last 4 rounds now? Do you only have 1 point between your two drivers?
Well, the 1 point between our two drivers is the good news. The good news is that it's the two papaya drivers, and our objective remains definitely to make sure that we push Verstappen back and we make it become an entire papaya business, and then make the best win.
Do you expect to see a stronger Oscar when we head to Brazil next time out? Very different track?
100%.
And the car at that track as well, how much will it suit it?
It should be a good track for our car. I think we have understood also from the last few races in which we didn't perform well, we have understood a few things in terms of exploiting our car even more consistently. And I think this will make us definitely there to fight for the victory in the next 4 races.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Well done today.
You.
So a P1 and a P5 then for McLaren, and hopes moving forward, just 1 point between them in the World Championship standings. And I can't do live maths, so it's 36 points to Max Verstappen from Lando Norris. Never asked me to do maths. There was a mighty fight though for that podium, and at one point you felt Mercedes could have been in it, but no. The race day became unravelled for them. Team orders deployed and then redeployed. Have you ever, James, got as irate with your engineer on the radio as we heard George Russell and Marcus Dudley today?
I'm going to say probably. I mean, it happens. It is part of it. But I got to be honest with you. Again, I'm going to always kind of preface this and have the caveat that you don't know all the information that pit wall does. But I agreed with George Russell. They waited too long to swap those cars. He absolutely had to burn his tires, you know, running in Kimi's dirty air, defending against the McLaren. And when the call came to, hey, let's take care of those rear tire temps, you knew what the reply was going to be before he was even. I couldn't believe they had the gall to say that to George in that moment. And ultimately, it didn't work out. They did have to swap the positions back. Credit to George for doing that. He was the one that suggested, hey, I'll swap back. Just give me this chance. But I don't know why they waited so long.
Ruth, can you give any insight into that? Because we were sort of screaming at the telly in the office to say, why are they waiting this long? And George has so eloquently put the case forward from within the car, driving at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, first off, I would say credit to George, because I thought he explained, exactly how you would like your driver, clearly saying, for the record, I'll swap back. I didn't know why they didn't swap earlier. Again, we don't have all the information. And I also wasn't sure why they put both of the cars onto a two-stop strategy. Looking at it, I wonder if maybe if they'd split strategy there, they could have put, them under more pressure by basically covering both sides of the thing rather than having your two cars on track. Also, once they've had a spat, I always like to separate them. So, that helps too.
Good point.
Actually, on that, and just briefly going back to McLaren, I thought it was quite a fascinating moment as well when Norris was asked to give feedback to a driver. Yes, his teammate on one side of the garage, but a driver he is fighting tooth and nail in this championship on whether the soft or the medium would be the preferred tyre for a two-stop, and he gave it. But Ruth, you'd pointed out that Lando had feedback shared to him from Oscar's side earlier in the race, so they're still talking in that sense. They're still colluding.
They're like the nicest team to ever exist. They're so lovely, and somehow they're still winning. They are putting in action what Andrea said. We are one McLaren. This is how we go racing. We might disagree, but they're doing it, and I thought it was very interesting. Also because it didn't. It was quite obvious that the soft was the best tyre. So of all the questions to ask, it was quite one that I think maybe was pointed to show almost we are still working as a team, and we're 2 against 1, Max. So I wondered if there was an element of that.
And it was a really mature response from Lando. I mean, you could almost hear some hesitation in his voice, the soft is probably better. But, he did what he was supposed to do. And I just want to actually cover off Piastri because Behrman so rudely jumped in when we were in the middle of discussing that. I thought it was a really heads-up drive from him and great damage limitation. He was a little bit conservative at the start, but you have to be. When you're leading the championship still by 14 points with 5 to go, I guess, at the time, you can't just be completely erratic. You can't do bonsai moves. But then once the race settled in, he drove very smart. He picked off some positions. That move on George Russell late in the race was absolutely beautiful, aggressive.
Was that a bonsai move?
That was just on the edge of the bonsai zip code. It was right there, but he executed it perfectly, right? So he got as many points as I think realistically he was going to get out of the day. Again, the VSC may have saved Behrman. Ollie says no, he had it anyway. But I do think it was a nice comeback from him and gets the confidence back up heading to Brazil.
Final question then. Was the two-stop the right choice, though, for Piastri?
Well, you talk about conservative. I think AO actually mentioned it quite well there. Because of Haas, they opted to follow, to cover. So when somebody does something, you react and you lock in your position. You're not going to go forward, you're not going to go backwards. You basically deal with the hand that you've got, which was the exact right mood for Haas. I think they thought it was a 1, but they wanted to just cover off bases. The question has to be asked, and I'm sure McLaren will be asking it too. Twice, they locked in position. When Lewis had his penalty, they boxed earlier than the soft could go, because obviously they could have extended further to lock that position in, and then they converted to the two-stop following Antonelli in. I think, again, you have to review it, and that's the kind of thing strategists will be. If you want to be aggressive, if you want to have a chance at moving forward with the podium, going into these last 4 rounds, are they going to change their approach and take more risk, which obviously does come with more risk, there's more downside, but potentially more upside?
Well, let's hear then from the drivers who are currently 1-2 in the world standings, and that is Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, in the other order.
Hi Oscar, you knew turn 1 was going to be important today. It looked like a little bit of a tricky start on your side and kind of set the tone for the rest of the race. Can you talk us through it from your side?
It was a tricky turn 1. I think the guys ahead hit the grass or hit a patch of dirt or something, and I was kind of the next car directly behind it. So when I hit it, I lost a lot of grip and kind of drifted wide and lost a couple of spots there, so that was a shame. But I think the recovery after that was pretty reasonable, just very, very difficult to overtake. We tried our best.
Yeah, he made it up to P5, limiting the damage. Lando, of course, moving ahead in the championship standings. But what do you take from this weekend as a whole, the last few races, and a chance for a little bit of a reset now before Brazil?
Yeah, definitely. I think the last couple of races has been surprising in terms of the pace, and I think there's been we have some evidence of where the pace is and what to do, but you know, I've got to drive the car very differently these last couple of weekends, which, when it's been working well for you for the previous 18, is a little bit difficult to kind of wrap your head around. But tried a few things today, and I'll have a look if that was what we were looking for.
Thanks, Oscar.
Thank you.
And supreme from start to finish. Talk us through it.
I mean, just a good, clean, not too much going on kind of race, which was just what I was after, you know. So, yeah, good pace, good start, good launch, good turn one, all those things. Just a good day, a good weekend. It's the easiest way to put it, a good weekend. So, yeah, very happy with today.
Is this the best you've felt in this car for quite some time?
It's difficult. I mean, it's the best job I did on the Saturday for quite some time, but, you know, I need the car in order to do that. But I felt good for a little while. It's just we've not been quite as strong in certain places for a little bit of time. Here we were easily the quickest, you know, but at the same time I feel like the car was giving me what I want, and I could push on the car, and I knew how to push. So it's the best I felt, but doesn't mean anything for now. You know, every weekend's different, every track's different. So it worked here. I did the job I got to do here. But next time out, it's a completely new weekend. So
you touched on it there. You're into the championship lead, but how are you feeling about Brazil? Another different type of track?
I mean, I like it there. I mean, you never know with the weather. There's been everything in the last few years, but it's one I think in the past we've been strong at as a McLaren, and yeah, I will hope and hope that we'll continue to have the pace that we had this weekend. But you know, I got to keep up the hard work. I got to keep up the stuff I'm doing, both at the track and away. And yeah, just keep my head down.
Well done.
Thank you.
Lando Norris leading the World Championship driver standings by just the 1 point then over his teammate. What a pivotal Mexico City Grand Prix it has been. Let's see how things stack up in Brazil, shall we, for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. And guess what? It's a sprint weekend, as if we needed more drama in this 2025 season. So weekend warm-up coming to you at 5:30 on the Thursday, and then 11:15 for the 1 hour of practice. 3:15 building into sprint qualifying, that shortened format. That sets your grid for the sprint race, 10:20 build-up, 11 a.m. start for that one, ahead of then the pre-qualifying show at 2:30 and into a normal Grand Prix format of qualifying at 3 p.m, your post-qualifying show with all the reaction, and on to race day. May we see yet another twist in this tale. 10-1 we build up to the Sao Paulo Grand Prix beginning at 2 p.m, all track time, and then the post-race show straight afterwards. As if we needed a sprint weekend to come. And guess what? There's another one in Qatar as well, in just a few races after that. Coming thick and fast now at the pointy end of this season. Guys, your final thoughts then from Mexico City Grand Prix that I'm barely just beginning to compute and comprehend.
Yeah, it's hard to just pick 1 or 2 points from this race. I mean, such an incredible performance, obviously, from Lando Norris, and you almost wonder if this is kind of the real turning point. He's been chipping away at Oscar Piastri's lead, but it's with seconds, it's with thirds, it's with sevenths in Baku, still ahead of Piastri, but this was a truly crushing performance. Massive gap to second place in both qualifying and the race on a weekend when Piastri was a little bit on the back foot. You could look back at this as kind of that real shift in momentum as he retakes the championship lead, but you could also bounce right back the other way in Brazil. This is absolutely going to go down to the wire, and I cannot wait.
Ruth?
Yeah, every race now is the absolute most important race weekend so far. And I think Brazil will be another level on top. I think McLaren will be hoping for dry. I think Red Bull with Max will be hoping for wet. And, you know, a DNF becomes even more critical. Going into these last 4 rounds, it's not just about who comes first, second, and third. It's about whether the Mercedes could split them in Vegas, for example. What can happen? And also, can they all finish the race?
It's just incredible. What a position we are in. For the first time in 13 years, the World Championship lead has changed hands in the final 5 rounds of the season. We have 4 rounds left to go. There is 1 point in it. There is 36 points separating your top 3. 2 teammates, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris versus Max Verstappen. Do not miss a second of the Sao Paulo Grand Prix coming to you in just a matter of days. We'll see you then. Bye for now.
This is Brazil. Welcome back to a truly iconic venue.
This is Sao Paulo.
The Sao Paulo Grand Prix is underway. It is the hottest ticket in town. Max Verstappen late on the brakes. There's plenty of jeopardy and plenty of excitement heading your way.
This is the Sao Paulo Grand Prix.
17th on the grid to the win.
Oh, yes! What an unbelievable race, guys.